Well, hello to my YouTube subscribers. This might be the most important video that I've made about Thai visas in a while. So during the pandemic, I don't think it was really possible to enter Thailand using a visa exemption or a visa on arrival. That's because you needed to have a certificate of entry, a COE, which required having a real visa first. But as of July 1st this year, the certificate of entry is no longer required. So now it's possible to enter Thailand on a visa exemption or a visa on arrival. And more good news, the length of the visa exemption has been extended from 30 days to 45 days, and the length of the visa on arrival has been extended from 15 days to 30 days. And either of these can be extended for 30 days once you're in Thailand by visiting an immigration office. So you really have to ask the question now, should I bother getting a 90-day single-entry tourist visa through the e-visa process, or should I just use a visa exemption? The latter, the visa exemption, is cheaper since you don't have to pay the $40 visa application fee, and it saves you some effort because you don't need to fill out the e-visa forms. So if you're a person like me, who gets multi-entry tourist visas, because I tend to stay for a while in Thailand, you have to ask yourself the question, am I better off getting a multi-entry tourist visa, which allows me to stay in Thailand for 90 days at a time, but then I have to leave and return to Thailand, or should I just do this using a series of visa exemptions that allow me to stay 75 days at a time, but I don't have to apply for an e-visa, and I don't have to pay the $200 fee for the e-visa. In my case, this is actually a pretty close call. So I think anybody going to Thailand now as a tourist really has to ask themselves the question whether they should get a tourist visa through the e-visa process, or use a visa exemption on arrival, or get a visa on arrival. That's the purpose of the video, to clarify this decision for you. So some of you may be concerned that you can't use multiple visa exemptions. The rule is that as long as you're arriving by air, you can use as many visa exemptions as you want. There's no limit. If you're arriving by land or sea, they limit those to 2 entries per year. And when you use up those 2 land or sea entries, you can still enter by air the rest of the year. So using the visa exemption for longer stays can certainly work as long as you're willing to leave Thailand and come back every 75 days. So let's kick things off with a discussion of definitions. Now, a visa exemption is not a visa. The visa exemption allows you to enter Thailand for 45 days without a visa, and your passport gets stamped on your date of arrival, and you're expected to leave Thailand 45 days later unless you get a 30-day visa extension. I cover the process for getting a visa extension in another video, and I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. Now, if your country doesn't qualify for the visa exemption, you may still qualify for a visa on arrival, and I'll list the countries that qualify for visa on arrival in the description of the video. You get the visa on arrival in the airport when you arrive. The visa on arrival gives you 30 days, and that can also be extended by another 30 days. So that's visa exemption versus visa on arrival. Now, it's very important to understand the difference between the two. The visa exemption says you don't need a visa. The visa on arrival is an actual visa. The reason why it's important to understand this is that when you arrive at the airport, you're going to see signs that point to where to go for a visa on arrival. If what you're looking for is a visa exemption, don't follow the signs for visa on arrival. Just go to immigration as if you had a visa, and your passport will be stamped for a visa exemption. So now let's get to the real question. Should I apply for a tourist visa using the e-visa process, or should I just use a visa exemption or get a visa on arrival? Now here's the place in the video where I plug my novel, The Vientiane Affair. There's espionage, history, politics, love, sex, violence, and great characters. I think you'll enjoy the story. And if you're an Audible subscriber, why not use a credit to listen to it? This is a way that you can support independent authors like me. Okay, so now let's get back to the question. How do you decide whether to use the e-visa process and get a real tourist visa, or to get a visa exemption when you arrive, or get a visa on arrival? So the real difference between getting a visa exemption and getting a regular tourist visa via the e-visa process is that the visa exemption allows you to stay only 75 days at a time, while the tourist visa allows you to stay for 90 days. And that's assuming in each case you get an extension. So you have to look at individual cases. If you're planning to stay in Thailand for 80 days, then you're probably better off applying for the e-visa that will allow you to stay for 90 days without leaving the country. But if you're only planning to stay for 70 days, then you could just use a visa exemption and then get the 1-month extension, and you'd be fine. So in that case, you'd be better off just using a visa exemption. It'd be cheaper and easier. So I'd say in general, if you're coming from a country where the visa exemption is supported, then that's generally going to be your best alternative. But there are definitely cases where it would be better to get a visa. I tend to visit Thailand for longer periods of time, so I've been getting multi-entry tourist visas, and that requires me to leave Thailand and return every 90 days. Well, I might just start using visa exemptions, reduces that to 75 days, but it saves me the $200 cost of the multi-entry tourist visa, and the 15 days may not be such a big difference. I tend to visit other places when I'm in Thailand anyway. But there's a factor in this that's a little hard to quantify. Some people feel more secure having a visa actually in their hand when they arrive and knowing that they're guaranteed entry. With the visa exemption, it's theoretically possible that you could be denied entry for some reason. For example, there's some mix-up in records and the Thai government thinks you have a history of being a bank robber. You might be denied the visa exemption. The chances of this happening, I think, are minuscule, but I think some people just feel more secure knowing that they have the visa. So you'll have to evaluate for yourself how important that is to you. It's not that hard to get a visa through the e-visa process. You can see my videos on this, and you might just feel more secure having that visa in advance. Now, what if you come from a country that doesn't qualify for the visa exemption? Well, in that case, if you're among the countries that qualify for a visa on arrival, you could do that. Now, the visa on arrival costs 2,000 baht, and it's good for 30 days, and it can be extended. Now, I suspect that if you could get a single-entry tourist visa in advance through the e-visa process, that's probably a better deal. It's a little cheaper, and you'll have the security of knowing that you have the visa in your hand. So I would recommend that. But maybe you come from a country like Bulgaria, where, at least according to the lists that I've seen posted, don't support the e-visa process to get your visa in advance. So in that case, you might be better off getting your visa on arrival. If you don't do that, you would probably have to actually go to the consulate in Sofia to get a visa in advance. So that's a case where the visa on arrival probably looks pretty good. So the message of this video is that if you're planning a trip to Thailand, you really have to evaluate which of these alternatives is best in your particular case, depending on the country that you come from and how long you're planning to stay and how secure you feel with the idea of arriving in Thailand without a visa. And if you want help with this decision, why don't you post a comment? I can offer my thoughts on it, and I think some of my other viewers will probably offer their thoughts also. Okay, so I hope this video has been useful. I think this is a pretty important topic to think about if you're coming to Thailand. So until my next video, see you soon. Bye.